Thanks, everyone. This is the Ask April and Cindy series, and I'm April.
And I'm Cindy, so welcome.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Today, I'm super excited to have Coco joining us to share about her trip on the Canal du Midi in France, and that's southern France. Coco has been an avid sailor for the last 20 years and has had a lifelong passion for traveling. So thanks for joining us today, Coco. I am so super excited to hear about this fascinating journey that includes planes, trains, boats, and a bicycle. So take it away, Coco.
Well, thank you, April and Cindy. I'm really excited to share my trip with your listeners. In September of 2019, I took a 3-week trip to France. As you mentioned, I'm an avid sailor, and my favorite trips often involve boating and generally sailing. My main reason for this trip was to do a canal boat trip on the Canal du Midi in southern France. The canal boat that I chartered was a self-drive houseboat that was 47 feet long and about 13 and a half feet wide, which I drove myself. It had 4 very small staterooms, 2 heads or bathrooms, a galley or kitchen, a salon area for eating and socializing, and a large upper deck with a helm station and a very large area for sunning, eating, and socializing. The boat had 2 helm or driving positions, one inside and then one on the upper deck, which I preferred for the visibility. And I have some photos of what the boat looked like. A couple of these are a little small. I have to blow them up for you. It was not our boat, but it was a boat similar. So you can see the driving position up here, and then all the staterooms and the living area is on the first deck.
Nice.
I have a layout of the interior, which I can show you now. Now, so there are 2, they say aft, which is the rear of the boat, 2 aft staterooms that have convertible beds. So these beds can be pushed together for 1 or pulled apart for 2. Since we had 4 single ladies, we used these 2 staterooms as twins. And then we had 2 couples that got to share these rather cramped double beds. You'll notice they're not square. So they actually had to get in there real tight. I think they actually had less room than we did. These 2 rooms here are the bathrooms, or the heads, as we would call them. You've got your toilet, your sink, and then the faucet pulls out of the sink, and you have a handheld shower. So you shower right in the bathroom. Moving forward, we've got the kitchen, or the galley. There's a very steep set of stairs right in this area. Can you see my cursor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, in this area that goes up to the upper deck. This nice, spacious, open area here is the salon. We've got a table for dining, a nice L-shaped seating area, and then these 3 stools moved, so you could pull them into the table or just push them back. And this was the inside helm position for driving the boat from the inside. But it's kind of hard to see from there, so I preferred going up top. Right here we have some doors that open to this nice little sitting area. It was very protected. My crew was able to manage the lines from right this area. They didn't have to crawl out on this outside part of the boat. So that was very, very convenient. I really liked this model that we chose. So now I've got a picture of our actual boat. This, again, is the doors that open to the bow area with that nice little seating area. You can see the line here going from the cleat to the shore. It's tied up on the shore here. We have a nice canopy that we can use to keep the sun off. Unfortunately, we can't move the boat with that canopy on because some of the bridges are so low that I had to actually duck my head to get under the bridge.
Oh, wow.
This is the aft view of the boat, and these are the bicycles that we rented that are tied up on the back here. This is me driving. This is our salon area with, as they say, these seats pushed forward, and we had a nice big area for having meals. So basically, you do all your living on board this boat. So this is my crew, which consisted of 8 people, including myself. We were all in our mid-60s to late 70s, which proves it's not too late. We had 2 older couples and 4 women. We all had sailed with one another many times over the years, and so we're very familiar with each other. We got along really well, which is important on a very small vessel like this. And we were also blessed. We had one woman on board who was a professional chef, and so we ate well. Because I had really only been in France one other time for a tiny, tiny trip to Paris, I decided that, this was a great opportunity to see the entire country. So I actually came in a few days before everybody else. I flew into Paris and I took a 4-day guided bus tour that took me to Normandy with the D-Day beaches and Mont Saint-Michel. And then it looped back through the Loire Valley, and we got to see a bunch of beautiful chateaus, and then it came back to Paris. So this is actually one of the beaches in Normandy that was part of the invasion. This was a D-Day beach. Today it looks beautiful and serene, but in World War II it was a scene of mass carnage. This is one of the many cemeteries in the area with the grave markers. I kind of liked this shot with the Christian crosses and the Star of David here, and it's just sort of a nice shot down the aisle, down the rows. This was an interesting art piece. It shows 2 men invading the beach, and it was made out of some kind of metal. It was really, really nice. This is Mont Saint-Michel, which is out on a little island. You actually have to walk across this walkway to get out there. This is one of the chateaus that we saw in the Loire Valley. There were many, many beautiful chateaus. This is another one. This one had all these interesting spires, and I took a close-up shot of one of those spires. It just, the intricate work just amazed me. This is a formal garden that was at one of the chateaus. I mean, it's breathtaking. There's no other word for it. Beautiful. And then my bus trip ended up back in Paris. The next day, my 5 more people from my crew arrived, and we spent 3 days sightseeing Paris. We did all the typical tourist stuff. We did the hop-on, hop-off bus. We saw, obviously, the Eiffel Tower. This is Moulin Rouge, which is in Montmartre, which is a section of Paris, which is kind of up a hill a little bit. Also in Montmartre is this beautiful church called Sacré-Cœur. We actually took a funicular to get up to this part of Paris, which is like the Angel's Flight downtown LA.
Right.
This is Notre Dame after the fire. You can see the scaffolding they had up. They had a security fence all the way around the church. This is a wider shot of Notre Dame. When I was there, they didn't know whether they were going to be able to restore it or not. I don't know subsequently what has happened. This was just an interesting picture. I found this woman. She was just looking out her second floor window. I found her striking, and I just had to take her picture and include it.
Yeah, I like it.
When in France, you have to go to churches. I saw lots and lots and lots of churches. This was a beautiful cathedral that is actually in Paris on the Ile de Cité, which is the little island that's in the middle of the Seine River. And it has wonderful, incredible stained glass windows. So anyway, at the end of our trip in Paris, we decided, all 8 of us were there at this time, and we met, and we were going to take a train to Carcassonne. We met at my hotel. I had made arrangements with the desk clerk to get us a couple of taxis because there were 8 of us, and the desk clerk ordered the taxis, and we waited, and we waited. We waited well over an hour and nothing came. I kept bugging the desk clerk. We were told not to use Uber for some crazy reason in Paris. And so we didn't. We figured we'd go with the taxis. After more than an hour, one taxi showed up.
Oh my gosh.
I got in the taxi with some of our folks who were a little less mobile. And so we headed to the train station, leaving 4 people behind. We got to the train station, and I was kind of worried that they weren't going to make it. Well, they decided they were going to try Uber. And they got an Uber right away. Uber brought them to the train station. They actually got on the train before we did. Because here's another interesting thing about the trains in Paris. They don't announce what track you're going to depart from until about 15 minutes before the train leaves. So in a huge train station like you find in Paris, you're scrambling around, plus they're making all the announcements in French. You're scrambling around trying to figure out what track you're supposed to depart on. So I say the other 4 actually made it to the train before we did. So we decided, I want to show you the map again. We were picking up the boat here in this town, Trèbes.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that Carcassonne was a must-see. You had to go to Carcassonne. Well, it's about a 15-minute taxi ride between Carcassonne and Trèbes. But by boat, it's 3 hours one way and 3 hours back. Well, our plan was to go down the river this way, or down the canal this way. So it didn't make any sense to do a 6-hour round trip just to see Carcassonne. So what we did is we took the train into Carcassonne. We spent 2 nights in a hotel there. Like I say, Carcassonne is a must-see city. Let me go back to the photo. It's a must-see. They say after the Eiffel Tower that this citadel, known as La Cité de Carcassonne, is the 2nd most visited tourist attraction in France. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This fortified medieval walled city is unique in Europe by its size and its state of conservation. It is renowned for its double walls of ramparts running nearly 3 kilometers around the perimeter and its 53 conical roofed fairy tale towers. This is a night shot of Carcassonne that I shot from just outside the street, just outside our hotel. We didn't stay inside the city. We stayed outside. But I shot this with my camera phone. So this is the walled city at night. We did choose to not to stay inside the walled city because they don't allow any kind of vehicle traffic in there. So since some of us were rather elderly, it made more sense to get a taxi to take us directly to the front door of a hotel rather than have to drag our bags through the cobbled streets of Carcassonne. I have one more shot of during the day of the walled city, and this is a couple of my friends posing here. So anyway, let me go back to the this photo here. Like I say, we were going to go to the Canal du Midi. I didn't mention that the canal is actually in this part of France, in southern France, which is a more rural wine growing region here. When you think of the south of France, you think of Marseille and Monaco and all of that, which is over in this area. So this is a much more laid back area. So this is actually the part of France that we were in. The next day was a Saturday, a very rainy Saturday, I might add. We picked up our boat in Trèbes. Now, things were really crazy at the charter base, and we had to wait a very long time. We walked down the road, and we found this really nice restaurant, probably one of the nicer restaurants that we ate in. It was right on the canal. We had a wonderful lunch. After lunch, we went back to the base. They still weren't ready for us. Some of our crew,
oh my gosh.
We knew we weren't going to be able to get in until the afternoon, but like I say, it was just kind of crazy because it was raining and just lots of stuff going on. So some of our crew decided they go out to a store to provision. That's a nautical term for going to get some groceries. We finally were able to get into the boat in the afternoon. And like I say, it's raining, it's wet. Now, this is a picture of our boat. The stern part of the boat that I'm putting my cursor on was actually tied up to the dock, along the stern. So you had to step on this back step. Now, the only way onto the boat is now to walk up these steps, walk across the upper deck, then go down these steep steps that lead you into the lawn. It's raining, it's slippery. The only other way is the front entrance, which you'd have to then step on the back of the boat. You'd have to walk on this like 1 foot wide ledge that was on the side of the boat and then go in the front. So I realized, hey, this boat has a huge hatch in the back. We ended up, which led to one of the staterooms. This is actually my stateroom. We ended up passing all the luggage and all the groceries through this hatch, which saved us a lot of time, and it was a lot safer than having to crawl up and worry about doing all of that. So anyway, we finally got settled. We put everything away. It was starting to get late. We decided, well, we'll just spend the night at the base, and we'll get a fresh start in the morning, because you're not allowed to travel at night. So, and the locks are only open between 9 and 5 in the morning. So on a Sunday, still morning, we set off on our grand adventure. Our boat was supposed to have bow thrusters, but they didn't work, which made maneuvering and turning this monster a bit of a challenge. They advertised that, any fool can drive one of these boats. I set out to prove them right. Fortunately, I had just learned to do what they call a standing turn, which is turning the boat in a circle, pretty much in its own circumference, on a 28-foot sailboat. Now, this is a 47-foot power boat, but the skill was still pretty much the same, so I got a lot of practice doing standing turns, turning this boat in a very narrow canal. Also, the Canal du Midi has tons of locks. Locks are kind of like water elevators. What you do is you come up to the lock, you wait for the doors to open, and then you enter with like maybe 2 or 3 boats. It could be like 4 boats crammed into one of these locks, and it's tight. One of our crew jumps off the boat and loops a line from the bow and the stern around these posts that are on shore called ballards. Then the other end of the line goes back to someone on the boat. So then as the water goes up or goes down in the lock, the people on the boat are handling the lines. They're feeding them out or playing them in, depending upon which direction you're going. So this is a picture of lock doors. Many of the locks have lock operators, but when we headed down this side canal, we had to operate the locks ourselves. And this is a picture of the self-operated controls that you would use for the locks. Okay, so although the Canal du Midi was originally designed for commercial purposes, it's now primarily used for recreational boaters. And I have some shots, just some basic shots here of the canal. This is a tiny picture, but I want to blow it up because I want you to get a good view of how low some of the bridges are.
Oh.
Like I said, I actually, driving from the top of the boat, had to duck my head going under these bridges. I just have a few pictures of the canal here. Oh, this was an interesting lock. This lock keeper was an artist, and he created, I assume it was a he, I don't know, because we didn't stop there, we just went through the lock, created all these incredible metallic and wood and other material type sculptures. And I have several shots of them because I just thought they were so interesting.
Those are. Oh, that's incredible.
This is a shot one of my crew members took on a lovely morning after we had breakfast and we were just heading down the canal. She shot them through those front doors on the boat. You can see the trees reflecting in the water. It's still, it's calm, it's absolutely beautiful. This was, saw this many, many a morning. Here's a night shot, just tied up outside a little village. This is my crew. We were eating at a canal side restaurant. You can see the boats here tied up on the canal. Our boat was actually over in this area. Okay, so let me go back again to this thing. So like I say, there are a lot of interesting places to stop on the canal, but I'm really going to highlight only the must-see places. So from Treb, we went down, we made a couple of stops, and then we ended up at this other base called Homp, or Homp, H-O-M-P-S. From there, there was a place that was a must-see called Minerva, and we took a cab there. Let me just finish. When we left Minerva, we continued down. Another must-see place is here, Le Sommeil. And then we kind of went up here a little bit, and then we came back on the embranchement, and then we spent our last 4 days in Narban. So that's just a little idea of where we went. Now, I can tell you about Minerva. Minerva was one of France's most beautiful towns. That's the way it was described. It had charming cobblestone streets, a maze of narrow alleys, quaint dwellings, and a simple 12th century church. The town is perched high on a rocky promontory with rivers running through deep gorges on either side. It can only be reached by a high bridge, and this is the bridge right here. The town, I'm sorry, I lost my place, can reach by a high bridge, and it was the site of a famous siege in the medieval ages. We ate at this incredible restaurant, and I took a picture of the exterior of the restaurant so I could, this is not the restaurant, obviously. Called Relais Chantovant.
Nice.
We met an English lady there who actually lived nearby, and she told us that this was the second, according to her anyway, was the second best restaurant in the region. It was a 5-star Michelin restaurant. She said that her favorite was La Barbican in the Hotel de la Cité in Carcassonne. Unfortunately, we had been to Carcassonne, so we missed it.
Right.
This was the pork dish that I had at that restaurant. The presentation,
it's beautiful.
And the food was just incredible. From there, like I say, we traveled on. We stopped at that base. After we left the base, we stopped at this place called Le Sommeil, which was really charming because it was like right on the canal. Everything was just right there. This is just sort of a picture of the little village. I have several pictures of it. Okay, that's not Le Sommeil. Anyway, so basically what made this interesting was because I said it was a charming village. It was right on the canal. It had some very nice restaurants. It had this unique bookshop that had rare first editions.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and like it's sort of in the middle of nowhere. It's not like a big city or anything. It had a couple of artist studios and it had a really nice wine shop. After we left Le Sommeil, we decided that we would spend our remaining days. We were leaving the boat in Narban, so we decided we would spend our remaining days in Narban. We actually spent 4 days there. Again, this is Narban. What we realized, because the boat doesn't go that fast, that it was hard to see a lot of things. So we wanted to get out to this town here, Bazirs. So what we did is we took a train from Narban to Bazirs as a day trip. And then we did another day trip from Narban down to Port La Nouvelle, which is on the Mediterranean. So just a little bit about Narbonne. It was a very, very nice city. It had sort of a southern French atmosphere with a Spanish twist. The highlights included Saint-Just et Saint-Pierre Cathedral, which is the third highest in France, and the Archbishop's Palace, which dated back to the Roman era. Now there were underground Roman ruins in Narbonne that we got a chance to tour, which was really interesting. We also went to this wonderful Marche, and this is the exterior of the Marche. The Marche is similar to Central Market in downtown LA. It's a large building with many vendors inside, all specializing. You have your meat vendor and your fruit vendor and your cheese vendor and people selling prepared food and alcoholic drinks. So like I say, this is the exterior. This lady is selling olives.
Oh, wow.
That's
very good.
The vegetable stand, the meat stand, and again, there were dozens of meat stands because it was huge inside. Okay, so after like I had mentioned before, we wanted to do another day trip up to Bazir's. Bazir is the capital of that area's wine industry and the birthplace of Pierre-Paul Riquet, who was responsible for building the Canal du Midi. Like all cities with a long history, Bazir's was best discovered by ambling through its medieval streets and its bright squares and leafy parks. Unfortunately, I didn't include any pictures of there, but it was a charming city, and we did take a day trip up there. On the last day, three of us, and there we are, decided to take our bikes on the train to Port La Nouvelle, which is on the Mediterranean Sea. I got a chance to dip my toes in the bend. That was my goal.
Yeah.
This place had this beautiful, this is only part of it. It had this beach that went on for miles and miles and miles and miles. Lovely sandy beach, hotels and shops and restaurants all along facing the beach. I imagine in the summertime it is probably, packed with tourists. We were there, this is now probably last day of September, first day of August, something like that. So it was pretty quiet. But I can imagine during high season that this place is just packed with people who could probably spend a couple of weeks here because it's just absolutely gorgeous.
Right.
For many of us, Port Narbonne, which is where the boat was our last stop. Six of us got on the train from Narbonne the next day. We went, there's actually a train station in Charles de Gaulle Airport. So we went to the airport, and then we took a shuttle bus to the small village of Roissy, which is just outside of the airport. There's a shuttle bus that runs like every 20 minutes between the town and the airport. There's lots of hotels to choose from. There's stores, there's restaurants, and if you know Paris is well over an hour from the airport. So it saved us having to go all the way back into Paris and then come all the way back just to fly out the next day. And it was a nice little place. We found a lovely restaurant for our last meal in France, and it was just a relaxing way to end our trip. So I'm open for questions if you have them.
Well, tell us about any special items that you would recommend taking or packing, or any skills that you would be important to have for this entire journey.
Well, as I mentioned, the boat, we all overpack. I always overpack. Because of the constraints of the boat, we could only take collapsible duffel style bags. So what we did was, packed our duffels. I use packing cubes. I don't know if you're familiar with those. I love them because, I segregate my toiletries in one. I segregate all my little electronical cords and battery operated things in another. And then I have like my t-shirts and pants in one, and then other types of items. So it was really handy because this way on the boat, we had really only one big shelf that was over the beds, and I had to share that shelf. So I stacked all my little packing cubes up on that shelf, and then we took our duffel bags and I put a tie around them and stuck them vertically at the end of the bed, and there was just enough room for the door to swing open and the swing closed and sit there right at the foot of my bed. So that kind of worked out well. I also had a backpack style carry-on that I used as a pillow because I had nowhere to put it. Again, for a boat trip like that, you didn't need any kind of dressy clothes. I mean, jeans would have been fine for any place we stopped. I did have my birthday in Paris, and so I did bring a blazer jacket and nice dress slacks, and really the only time I used them was that one night that I went out for my birthday dinner. The one thing that I learned, I bought a pair of Crocs because mostly for the plane trip. Normally I would wear my sneakers on the plane, and my feet swell and it's a long trip, and I always end up taking my sneakers off, and then I got to find a way to somehow get them back on while I'm sitting in my seat. So I found the Crocs were really great because you can slip them on, slip them off when you have to go to the bathroom. You just slip them back on. You could I had to change planes because I had to change planes in Texas. I didn't have a direct flight.
Right.
And I found you can even walk through the airport in the Crocs. They were totally comfortable. So that's going to be my new go-to bring on a trip. And also I had a pair of Teva sandals with me. Like I say, we did run into some rain. Also, the exterior of the boat, every morning we'd go out because of the dew, it would be wet. And I didn't want to go out there in my sneakers and get my sneakers all soaked and not having them dry out properly. So I wore my Tevas a lot in wet and rainy situations. And I want to pack.
So how far in advance did you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying.
I was just going to ask how far ahead in advance would you recommend someone planning this type of trip?
The boats book up pretty quickly. I think we must have planned this. I planned it. I put most of it together. Maybe 6 to 9 months ahead of time. I was planning to do another trip because I loved this so much. I was planning to do another trip this year to England and take a canal boat down the Thames River, and that was scheduled for September. And we're obviously not going to do that because of the COVID-19. But we booked that. We booked that last September. So I actually booked that a year in advance. I got a really good price on it. No, it wasn't September. It was in October. And then I actually got a terrific price on an airfare on a Black Friday sale. So,
oh wow!
Again, we're not going. So,
yeah. Wow, what an incredible journey, Coco. I've had a couple conversations with Coco, so I've been enjoying this amazing journey. And I told her if she is able to plan another one, I think I would sign up. I just can't drive the boat. So we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions for Coco. So if you've got questions, go ahead and we'll take questions.